doing? Good. It has been. It has been. Doing the microphone dance. Sorry, Colin. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Scholarship Luncheon and Nova Scotia's 40th Access Awareness Week. That is an incredible achievement for a small province in Nova Scotia and for an even smaller nonprofit who has been stewarding this event for the past 40 years. If we haven't met already, my name is Sherry Costa-Lorenz, and I am both the Executive Director for the Nova Scotia League of Equal Opportunities, and it's been my pleasure to be the chair of the partnership for the Access Awareness Week Nova Scotia as well. We have an incredible committee that dedicates an incredible amount of time and effort into organizing the things that happen this week. So kudos to everyone who is here, and kudos to everyone who has worked so hard in supporting the events this week, not the least of which are the partners at the table and the sponsors who help make this happen. My name is, not my name, my pronouns, you already know what my name is. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a short white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair. I'm wearing blue-rimmed glasses. It's been a lot of speaking this week, so my mouth isn't working properly. Blue-rimmed glasses, a blue top that is sleeveless, and white pants. In my lifetime, and there's people in this room who will appreciate this, I have owned an 8-track player, a hi-fi stereo, a cassette player, a boom box, a CD player, Bluetooth speakers, a smartphone, and I'm now streaming. I'm gonna let that sink in. And I can write cursive. During last year's introduction, I spoke about how life is not linear and that how it can be very messy, as you can see if you see my scars. But I also want to reiterate that I am not the aftermath of an injury. And for those persons in this room who have a disability, you are not your disability. And I want you to really embrace that. To paraphrase Glow Daily, this was something that was shared with me, and it really, really resonated, and I really want to share this with every one of you today. Don't measure your life by how many things go right. Some of your greatest lessons will come from doors that never open, opportunities that slip away, and moments that will force you to begin again when you thought you were already there. You are the result of every time you chose to continue when quitting looked so much easier. You've celebrated victories that no one else has noticed and survived days that completely changed the way that you see the world. There will be times when you'll be wrong, you'll be humbled, you'll start over, and you're going to learn that growth often arrives disguised as inconvenience. You're not here to impress anyone. You're not here to fit perfectly into every room that you enter. You're here to experience this life honestly, to learn what you can, to love what matters, and to leave each chapter knowing that you showed up as yourself, and that is enough. As we begin today's luncheon, there's a couple of housekeeping items that I think are going to be very important for all of us. I'm going to start with the washrooms directly across the hall. As the doors you come in, you go back out straight across, you'll find both the men's, ladies, and gender neutral. As you can see, we also have ASL, and we also have CART. So CART is an acronym for Captioning Audio in Real Time. That will be the text that you see at the bottom of the presentation screens. This event is also being live streamed on NS Leo's YouTube channel and is being recorded so as that people joining us through the live stream, thank you so much for tuning in. As I mentioned, the bathrooms are directly across the hall. We would also like to have some photo opportunities with sponsors and honored guests, scholarship recipients after the presentation. And if you need assistance, please reach out to Amanda. She's likely going to be at the registration table. You may already know her. If you do not, she's the one with the beautiful purple hair. And before I go any further, I would also like to offer some acknowledgements. One that is extremely important and has given me an entirely different perspective with some of my work that I've been doing with the Minister's Table on gender-based violence. I would like to acknowledge that Ennis Leo is one of many stewards on the ancestral and unceded territory of the land of the Wabanaki Confederacy, known as Mi'kma'ki, which consists of the Mi'kmaq, the Maliseet, the Penobscot, and the Passamaquoddy nations. We are committed to good stewardship in our relationship and connection to all its people, and the and the intention of the Peace and Friendship Treaty. As such, I've always looked at how we can do more than give an acknowledgement, because words are wonderful, but action are what really moves things forward. And I learned something this week during one of our meetings, and I've included that in this particular acknowledgement. And I hope that in this space that we have room to be able to fully understand what this means and how we might be able to influence it. Because we share the concerns of the Mi'kmaq leaders and communities that the 1756 scalping bounty was never clearly and ceremonially revoked in a way that satisfies the Mi'kmaq leaders and communities. So our support acknowledges that we need to have a repair and revocation that the Mi'kmaq people recognize. In addition to acknowledging the province's 400-year legacy of the rich history and culture of African Nova Scotians, who also continue to contribute to the growth and evolution of this province, I would be remiss if I did not also include that persons with disabilities have the right to live full lives of their choosing and to be included in the decision-making processes that impact them. There is a deep significance to the phrase of nothing about us without us, because historically, even basic human rights have not been honored nor respected, and access to services have been denied. So we will continue to speak with a united voice as we support and work towards a province that is equitable, offering access and a quality of life for everyone, including those who are most vulnerable, persons with disabilities that are both visible and invisible. And we commit to doing our part to make Nova Scotia a fully inclusive and accessible province. We recognize that individuals and families may face deeply personal decisions when living with serious illness, chronic pain, or a deteriorating quality of life. In those moments, people deserve compassionate, trauma-informed, and rights-based supports that respect personal autonomy while ensuring that decisions are never shaped by poverty, isolation, discrimination, lack of care, or systemic failures. Ennis Leo affirms that every person has the right to live with dignity and autonomy and meaningful access to the supports and services that they need to thrive in their community. So we will not, under any circumstances, recommend medical assistance aid in dying as an alternative to adequate disability supports, housing, healthcare, income security, mental health services, or other essential services. People with disabilities must never be placed in a position where unmet needs or barriers to support create pressure towards MAID. As an organization grounded in disability rights and human rights principles, NSLEO remains committed to advocating for equitable access, inclusion, and the full participation and realization of the supports and services that uphold the inherent value, dignity, and belonging for every person. The Partnership for Access Awareness Nova Scotia continues to fully embrace the intent and meaning of Rick Hansen's Man in Motion tour and continues to raise awareness on issues of ability and inclusion since 1987. So beginning in the last Sunday in May, every year, Access Awareness Week is an opportunity that allows Nova Scotians to promote these issues from all walks of life through press conferences, forums, concerts, lectures, community events. It's an opportunity for us to be able to engage the broader community on issues that must not be ignored. For 40 years, Access Awareness Week has been addressing fundamental steps in change, and we aim to do two things during the course of this week. One, to recognize and to celebrate what has happened to increase accessibility, along with the potential of things to come. Formally, this is achieved with the presentation of the Melhab Action Hourglass Awards, which were witnessed earlier this week at Prescott Group. Beautiful, beautiful facility, wonderful host as well. Informally, PAN's attempts to integrate the attitude of achievement and inclusion in our approach to all things. We also aim to bring issues of access to the attention of the public and to the policymakers. And as often as we have said this, we understand that change can grow from the bottom up, but it needs to come from the top down as well. And the two need to meet somewhere in between. This year's theme for Access Awareness Week, Nova Scotia, is Disability Justice, Stronger Together, First Voice Leading Collective Action. As the province and country continue to move with change towards action, the PANS Committee recognized the need to consider and understand the alignment of disability justice with the lived experience of First Voice. I think this is where we're going to be using one of the slides, Colin. As an example, March's provincial budget sparked a great deal of First Voice discussion that led to collective action to reinstate funding that was going to be cut. This is what has inspired the theme and the tagline to highlight the importance of First Voice and the impact when not represented. And I want to give a shout out to everyone in this room, particularly our scholarship recipients, to underscore how important it is for you to see yourself at the table, for you to see yourself in that room, for you to have a voice, for you to know that your voice matters, your vote matters, and that you have the ability to participate in civil responsibilities that sometimes we all take for granted. While reinstating some of the funding is welcomed, funding announcements alone do not guarantee justice. Without an intersectional lens, we risk misunderstanding who is most affected and who may still be left behind. Disability does not exist in isolation. It intersects with race, indigeneity, I did better today than I did on Monday, gender identity, geography, income. And when those systems overlap, those inequities compound. We need accountability with measurable benchmarks. We need income security without economic stability, autonomy, and participation remain out of reach for far too many. And lastly, we need community capacity. The organizations that provide peer support, advocacy, culturally grounded programming and accountability need the support to do the work. When funding is reduced, those already navigating compounded barriers are affected first and most deeply. Civil society capacity is not peripheral to inclusion. It's foundational to rights enforcement and to belonging. And we all have a responsibility and are accountable for that. Nova Scotia has committed to becoming accessible by 2030, and that commitment must be more than aspirational. Nova Scotia is in a unique opportunity to lead, not just by funding programs, but by ensuring that rights are realized equitably for those who have historically been excluded. And as part of this leadership, I'm very happy to announce that a collaborative partnership between the Partnership for Access Awareness Nova Scotia Committee and the committee that oversees the International Day of Persons with Disabilities is in its, I'm going to say its beta stage of discussions of development towards a unified and single committee. This is an incredible team of community collaborators, cross-sectoral government representation, working together for one reason: to bring awareness to the community, to be able to ensure that the messages are going to be consistent and that we're going to have the opportunity not just to hear the message, but to have robust conversations on what those messages actually translate to us when we're on the ground level, when we're the persons who are most impacted by it. This partnership reflects a shared commitment to strengthening disability leadership, to reducing silos, and creating more coordinated, inclusive, and sustainable approach to advancing accessibility, equity, and human rights across the province. This means that we are shifting our approach to extending the theme to the entire calendar year. And as mentioned, to have a more robust conversation on what this year's theme actually translates to for us. For 2026, this theme of disability justice, stronger together, will also be the theme for the December 3rd International Day of Persons with Disabilities and the flagship event, Ability to Rise. And I'd also like to note that we currently have an open call for presentations and recommendations for the December 3rd event. So if you have an idea or a presentation for the event and you'd like to participate, please go to the abilitytorise.ca website, and there's a submission form. This collaborative partnership between the two committees is a unified single committee, offers a significant strategic, organizational, and community benefits. Through a disability rights, intersectional, and community inclusion lens, this partnership can strengthen our collective impact while reducing duplication and deepening engagement across the province. Because as we know, access awareness, inclusion, and accessibility, it's not just the 1 week. It's the week that we're raising awareness, but it's every day of the year. The scholarship presentation is a significant part of Access Awareness Week, and with the support of our amazing sponsors, the Smith family, Scotiabank, Casino Nova Scotia, Halifax, and Sydney, Gulf Nova Scotia, Lung Nova Scotia PEI, as well as NS Leo, we can support students with disabilities to pursue and continue their post-secondary education, leading to a career and also a greater quality of life. And I think on that note, this is an excellent opportunity to relinquish the podium and to turn the mic over to another voice who, again, is supporting not just the work that we're doing, but the work that happens, that everyone in this room is doing. And I'm going to invite Timberleys and Prospects MLA, former Cabinet Minister and Premier, the Honourable Ian Rankin, to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I see lots of familiar faces in the crowd. I'm not sure if there's any other MLAs here or government ministers, but there's a former minister, one of the best, Joanne Bernard's here, from now involved in the nonprofit sector, and congratulations to the chair work that you did at the Chamber. I think the first nonprofit leader that was on that board, which is a good perspective to have at the Chamber of Commerce. Former deputy minister, I think I see, Frank Dunn, and current and past government workers and advocates, and new families that are here with their recipient, with their child here receiving an important award. So it's good to see familiar faces and new ones each year. This is one of the annual events that I have the privilege of being included on, and I really appreciate being here with you. So congratulations to all of the scholarship recipients whose hard work, perseverance, and ambition have brought you to this moment. These scholarships recognize achievement, but they also represent something bigger. A belief that every person deserves the opportunity to pursue their goals and contribute their talents to our communities. The economy is as much of a focus as it's ever been here at home and all over the world. We need to harness our local talents and have everyone involved in building a truly inclusive economy. So while we can continue to focus on rudimentary measures like the GDP growth, we need to increasingly be measuring well-being and participation in that economy, in community life, from a diverse range of perspectives. And that message feels particularly important right now. Across North America and around the world, and even here in our province, we're seeing conversations about diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility coming under increasing pressure. Programs that were once seen as common sense efforts to remove barriers are being questioned by some. At times, it can feel like progress that took decades to achieve is being taken for granted. That even the very organizations that are doing the heavy lifting, providing day programming, are being taken for granted by their government. That's why events like this really matter, because inclusion cannot be a trend. Accessibility should never be a political slogan. Equity is not about giving someone an advantage. It's about ensuring that people have a fair opportunity to participate, to contribute, and to succeed. When barriers are removed, people thrive. When communities become more accessible, everyone benefits. When we invest in people, we all gain from their talents, ideas, leaderships, and contributions. Our society as a whole benefits. And here in Nova Scotia, we have that ambitious goal, as was mentioned, to becoming truly accessible by 2030. That was landmark legislation years ago that I was fortunate to be part of. Not as much as part as Joanne Bernard. She really led a lot of those efforts in cabinet. But that goal is so important, not because it just appears in legislation or in government plans, but it reflects a vision of the kind of province we want to be. One where a person's potential is never limited by barriers that society has the power to remove. So the students that we honor today are a reminder of why that work matters. They are succeeding, not because barriers exist, but because they found ways to overcome them. And just imagine what is possible when we can fully eliminate those barriers. I want to recognize the families, friends, educators, mentors, advocates who have supported these students along the way. And I have to mention the business community that I have noticed who have become regular sponsors year after year. It shows that they are good corporate citizens, so thank you for continuing to support the students. And this day today is about the recipients. This is a big day. Congratulations, you've earned this recognition. Be proud of what you've accomplished and continue to be a lifelong learner. This scholarship acknowledges your achievements to date, but it's also an investment in your future. Whether your path leads to public service, which I hope some of you may look at, or healthcare, or education, or the many other fields that we need your help in, our province will be stronger because of your contributions. I do hope that you stay and raise a family here, but it's okay to leave. I myself lived in more than a couple of provinces and then came back home. And so if you do leave and come back, take what you learned and share it with all of us. and your experiences. Finally, I want to make one more point, the most important one, that accessibility and inclusion are not charity. They are matters of fairness and dignity and human potential. A truly accessible Nova Scotia isn't about what we just do for people. It's about what becomes possible when everyone has that chance to succeed and participate fully in our institutions and growing our economy. Thanks again to NS Leo and Sherry and all those involved that continue this practice and this event every year to celebrate our students. I know it's a competitive scholarship that not everyone is able to achieve, so your hard work has paid off today. I hope you take the moment to celebrate with your families, and I can't wait to come back next year, and I can't wait to see what all of you do after your post-secondary studies. Thank you so much.
You noticed that, didn't you? Yeah, there's a little difference in height between the two of us. Thank you so much for your words, Ian. And we so much look forward to seeing you every year. We know how much you support not only the work that we do, but so many other organizations and businesses in our community. So we're going to hold you to next year as well. Our next guest is Rob Patey. I would like to invite the CEO of the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission. Actually, no, I'm going to invite Rob Patey, the Accessibility Advisory Board's chair, to provide remarks. And then we'll go to Joseph Fraser. Do we have a... There we are. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rob Patey, and I'm honored to be here as the Vice Chair of the Nova Scotia Accessibility Advisory Board. First thing I'd like to say is congratulations to all the recipients. Outstanding work, and like I said, it's the future is yours. It really is. A little bit about me. I'm a high-functioning quadriplegic. 5 years ago, I had an incident. My medications caused me a low blood pressure. I got up one night from the sofa, got lightheaded, heading into my bedroom, and I went to hang up my phone in the kitchen. And I passed out and smashed my head against the stove. And when I come to, my chin was on the bottom, and I was paralyzed from the chest down. So it was just that fast. So I try to tell people, make sure you enjoy your life, enjoy your family and everything else, because things happen just so quickly, right? Okay, a little bit about the board. As the Vice Chair, I represent the Nova Scotia Accessibility Advisory Board, which is a board of the Nova Scotia Department of Justice, established under the Accessibility Act passed in 2017 to make Nova Scotia inclusive and barrier-free by 2030. The board shall advise and make recommendations to the minister, requirements that may be implemented by the government to achieve accessibility consistent with the purpose of this act. This involves 6 committees that have developed recommendations on accessibility standards. The first voice principle, nothing about us without us, is a core value in the Accessibility Directorate's work. This year's theme for Access Awareness Week is disability justice, stronger together, and first voice leading change. This is exactly what the board was intended for. The mandate of the Accessibility Advisory Board is to lend our experiences and knowledge of disability to inform and support the implementation of our provincial accessibility legislation. One thing about our board is unique is that we have 12 members, and the majority of the members must be persons with disabilities, deaf, or neurodivergent. This structure was intendedly built into the Nova Scotia Accessibility Act to ensure that people with lived experiences are leading this work. It's an exciting time for the board as we're making recommendations for the final 2 accessibility standards in information and communication and public transportation in the to the minister by the end of the year. Something that we brought on this year is a youth advisory committee panel. And the youth, our board is older people, so we wanted the young perspective, and we set up a group for the youth. So we recently formed a new youth panel, aged 26 and under, to give us their perspective into the barriers this group faces on a daily basis. We were fortunate to have 21 applications, and we were looking for 8 members plus 2 co-chairs. It was a hard decision, so many great young youth coming forward, and it was very encouraging to have that many youth thinking and wanting to make changes to make Nova Scotia more accessible. The election process, the election board looked at candidates' wide range of disabilities as well as the locations where they lived. We had an in-depth process to evaluate each of the desired applicants. So that was concluded from there. So finally, I'm going to say this again. I want to extend my congratulations to all the students who have received scholarships and will be taking the next steps in their educational journeys. I wish you all the best, and the world is out there for you. Also, I'd like to thank the Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunities, including Executive Director Sherry Costa-Lorenz, for their 40 years of hard work in advocating for accessibility, as well as the Partnership for Access Awareness Nova Scotia for their leadership in coordinating this week's events. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob. Obviously, I didn't see those huge cheat sheets that were up in front of us here. I would now like to invite the CEO of the Nova Scotia Human Rights Commission, Joseph Fraser, to provide some remarks.
Thanks very much, Sherry, and good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to join you again this year for the Access Awareness Week Scholarship Luncheon. I want to begin by acknowledging the students that we're honoring today. Your achievements matter. Your leadership matters. And the promise that is represented in this room matters deeply to the province of Nova Scotia. This year's Access Awareness Week theme, which we've heard earlier, disability justice, stronger together, first voices leading change for collective action. This reminds us that accessibility and inclusion are not just policy goals. They're about dignity, about belonging, participation, and power. Human rights laws have helped to secure important protections for persons with disabilities. Things like protections against discrimination, greater access to education and employment, and stronger accessibility standards. But those gains were hard-won through decades of advocacy and leadership from persons with disabilities and their allies. But disability justice pushes us even further. It pushes us beyond the idea that success means helping people to fit into systems that were never designed with them in mind. Instead, it reminds us that every person has inherent worth and dignity, and that our communities should be designed so that everyone can participate and contribute and thrive. And that vision is deeply connected to human rights. At their core, human rights are about recognizing the inherent worth of every person and ensuring that disability is never the basis for exclusion. Human rights law transforms inclusion from an act of charity to an obligation of justice. Here in Nova Scotia, we see that principle reflected in efforts to redesign systems and services around the voices and choices and the rights of persons with disabilities. The human rights remedy that is flowing from the Disability Rights Coalition case is one example of what can happen when people with disabilities are recognized as rights holders whose experience can help shape the future. This idea that was referenced earlier, this principle that we all know so well, nothing about us without us. And that brings us back to today. Scholarships like these are investments in leadership potential and opportunity. They recognize achievement, and they send a powerful message that students with disabilities belong in our universities, in our colleges, in our workplaces, and in our communities. The students we're celebrating today are part of a generation that will continue to shape a more accessible and more inclusive Nova Scotia. And whether you become advocates or educators or artists, entrepreneurs, public servants, or community leaders, your experiences and perspectives will help build and shape a stronger and better Nova Scotia. As Sherry mentioned earlier, for 40 years, Nova Scotians have marked Access Awareness Week by challenging barriers, by raising awareness, and celebrating progress. But that progress has come because people spoke out, shared their experiences, organized for change, and demanded better. While barriers do remain, there's so much reason for hope. Every scholarship awarded today reflects possibility. Every student recognized reflects talent and resilience and determination. And every voice in this room helps to strengthen the efforts to build Nova Scotia as a more equal and participatory province. To the scholarship recipients, congratulations. Your accomplishments deserve to be celebrated. Your future matters to this province, and your leadership will help shape a more just, inclusive, and accessible Nova Scotia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your insights, Joe. Very much appreciated. Now, I am going to ask we all enjoy our lunch. We'll be back shortly. I'm going to check the time. I know we may be running a bit late, but we will be meeting some amazing and incredible students. We say this every year, but we know that our future is in really good hands. Welcome back, everyone. So many great conversations happening around the room. I hate to interrupt, but I do have a hard taskmaster in Amanda, who has advised me of our running timeline. So I'm sorry I have to interrupt your lunch. And I do hope that you're enjoying it and the conversations. We have the pleasure this afternoon of having one of our previous scholarship recipients agreeing to join us today to share a part of her journey since she received a scholarship. I believe it was 6 years ago. I believe it was at the height of COVID. We did I think it might have been one of our first virtuals where we were all pivoting and figuring out how do we do this and how do we do this in a way that's meaningful. And it was done in a way that said, you know what, the first opportunity that we get, we are going to bring back participants who were not able to be a part of that initial one so that they can be a part of this experience. And I know that we are in the midst of our lunch hour, Emily, and I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you in the middle of it, but I'm wondering if I can invite you to the stage and say a few words. Okay.
Get my notes here. Hi everyone, my name is Emily Crosby, and in 2022 I had the honor of receiving the Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunity Scholarship upon graduating high school. I'm excited to be here today to kind of share what I've been up to and some of my experiences since then. I went on to attend Mount Allison University, where I recently completed a Bachelor of Science in Honors Psychology with a minor in Biology and a certificate in Foundations of Health, graduating with first-class honors with distinction. Thank you. Currently, I'm studying for my MCAT, and if you don't know what that is, it's an incredibly difficult 8-hour medical school admissions test, and I'm hoping to apply for medical school this upcoming fall if, fingers crossed, everything goes according to plan. After I receive my medical training, I'd love to work at the IWK in pediatric chronic pain management. My educational journey has been greatly shaped by living with chronic pain. I live with chronic nerve and musculoskeletal pain in over half my body due to a birth defect called spina bifida. This birth defect is when the spinal cord comes out of the spinal column in utero and is typically fixed with surgery after birth. Having a disability, especially one that is mostly invisible to other people, changes the way you move through educational spaces in your studies. A lot of the time, people only see whether or not you show up or what you're participating in. I think one of the hardest parts of having an invisible disability is the constant thinking that comes along with it. There's always a mental checklist running in the background. How much pain will I be in today? Can I physically sit through this class? Will I be able to keep up with deadlines? Do I disclose what's going on, or do I try to push through it quietly? It follows you into every environment, whether you want it to or not. When I first got to university, I was introduced to accommodations for the first time. Honestly, accepting them was really difficult for me at first. I think part of me felt like using accommodations somehow meant I was less capable than my fellow classmates, even though I would never think that about somebody else. It took a lot of time and my therapist repeating it to me over and over again to realize that accommodations are not advantages, that they are supports that help create more equal access to education. My experience with accommodations throughout university was mixed. I had some professors who were incredibly understanding and supportive, and those experiences made a huge difference because they made me feel respected, believed, and understood. But I also had experiences where accommodations were questioned, minimized, or treated as an inconvenience. Those moments can be discouraging because they remind you that accessibility is still often viewed as optional instead of essential. While there are certainly challenges, my university experience was also shaped by an incredible amount of support. Looking back, I don't think I'd be standing here with my same achievements without the people who believed in me. My family and friends provided support during the moments when things felt overwhelming, and many professors and staff members helped create an environment where I could succeed. When I mention friends, I mean one friend in particular. Emerson, who I met in my first year of university when she asked if I was related to Sidney Crosby, when she found out my last name is Crosby and I'm from Nova Scotia, is the best kind of friend anyone could ask for. Not only was she there for me emotionally, but she was also there for me physically. Not many people can probably say this about their friends, but on days when bending down was a little more than I could handle, she would help me put my socks on to go to class. And I think she doesn't know how much I appreciated that help from her. I was also fortunate to be surrounded by other students who used accommodations and openly navigated their own disabilities. Seeing other people openly navigate their disability and support system made me feel a lot less alone and less ashamed for needing help. It reminded me that disability exists in every educational space, even if we do not always talk about it as openly as I wish we did. At the same time, my experience with disability and chronic pain has shaped my direction of my research and my future goals. For my honors thesis, I was lucky enough to be able to conduct research surrounding the experience of having chronic pain in adolescents and the psychological and social impacts of its disability. A lot of existing research in the chronic pain field are built around the adult experience, and I became interested in the ways that young people often fall through the cracks. I even had the opportunity with this research to attend a conference a few weeks ago at Memorial University in which I was able to share my findings with other young researchers. Since there is so little research on chronic pain in adolescents, my honor supervisor and I are hoping to publish in the near future. During my time at Mount Allison, I also had the amazing opportunity to take part in many different extracurricular opportunities. I was able to work as a teaching assistant for the Department of Psychology, a campus ambassador, a co-lead for Navigate, which is a mental health and wellness organization on campus, and as an academic mentor to one of the biggest residences on campus. In addition to those experiences, I acted as a friendly visitor at the Sackville Hospital, a mentor to lower year psychology students, an orientation and welcoming crew for first-year students, and a Shine-A-Rama co-representative, to name a few things. When I slept during my 4 years, I'm not entirely sure. On a more serious note, having scholarships like this is incredibly important. Of course, the financial support matters, especially for students who may already be managing additional medical expenses, barriers to employment, or accessibility needs. But beyond that, beyond the financial aspect, scholarships like this also send a message that disabled students belong in educational spaces and that our goals, experiences, and contributions are valued. I think support like this can have a ripple effect. When students feel supported and believed in, it becomes easier to continue pursuing opportunities that may have once felt out of reach. As I continue my education and move towards a career in healthcare, I carry these experiences with me, not because I think hardship automatically makes somebody stronger or wiser, but because lived experience can create empathy, perspective, and a deeper understanding of what people need from the systems around them. Lastly, I'd like to say congratulations to those of you who are receiving scholarships today, and I'd love to give a few words of advice. Learn to advocate for yourself. It can be difficult, but is one of the most valuable skills you can develop throughout post-secondary. Ask for the support you need and allow yourself to accept it when it is offered. Accommodations are not something that need to be earned. Accepting help and advocating for yourself are not signs of weakness, they are acts of self-respect. I'm incredibly grateful to be here today and grateful to everyone who supports students with disabilities, not only financially, but by believing that we belong in educational spaces and that our voices matter within them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Those are so profound to hear that and to know that it's had a positive impact. So for everyone in this room, this is an example of who a real ambassador, however unwittingly, speaks. Thank you again, Emily. And on that note, we are going to look at presenting our scholarships. And for this year, in addition to our scholarship recipients and their families joining us today, our amazing sponsors are represented by Scotiabank. Omar Sameda, is it? Sarah Wilson for Gulf, Nova Scotia. Frank Dunn from Lung Association of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. Could you raise your hand just so everybody knows? Melanie Wells, Casino, Nova Scotia, Halifax. And myself and Amanda from Ennis Leo, who will be presenting the Alex Peeler Award as well. Today we're going to start with Scotiabank, and I'm going to invite Omar to help present these scholarships. Our first scholarship goes to Amber Cower as a student in business administration. Amber is enthusiastic about building a future rooted in leadership, accessibility, and meaningful community impact. Living with a visual impairment has shaped Amber's perspective in powerful ways. It has taught her resilience, patience, adaptability, and the importance of advocating for accessibility and equal opportunity. These experiences continue to inspire her personal and professional goals as she works towards building an independent and purpose-driven career. Beyond academics, Amber has actively volunteered with community organizations and accessibility-focused initiatives where she has contributed to workshops, outreach activities, and peer engagement opportunities. Amber enjoys connecting with people, sharing ideas, and helping create positive experiences that bring communities together. Amber, can you join us on stage? Amber, would you like to say a few words? Would you like to say a few words?
Just right here, a little bit to the right. Okay. The microphone is right up here. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. I want to sincerely thank the partnership of Access Awareness Nova Scotia as well as the Scotiabank for this scholarship. I had different experiences in life, and living with visual impairment has taught me resilience, adaptability, and the importance of accessibility and inclusion. I sincerely want to thank for this opportunity, as this will help me in achieving my academic goals and continue my education in business administration, and also contribute meaningfully in my future endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our next scholarship recipient from Scotiabank is Emma Butts. Emma Butts is a medical science student at Dalhousie University with a strong commitment to pursuing career in medicine. Living with juvenile idiopathic arthritis affecting 18 major joints, Emma has developed deep resilience, discipline, and a deep understanding of patient-centered care through lived experience. Emma is an accomplished student and leader, consistently achieving academic excellence while balancing extensive extracurricular activities. She has held multiple leadership roles in 4-H, including president and county council co-president, and has been actively engaged in student leadership, athletics, and community service initiatives. Outside of academics, Emma is a competitive equestrian and youth riding instructor, mentoring young riders and promoting confidence and perseverance. Her work experience with Nova Scotia Health and Community Programs has strengthened her communication skills and a passion for service.
Hi guys. First off, I'd like to congratulate everyone else who's getting a scholarship today. It's well deserved. And I'd like to thank Scotiabank for my scholarship today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Just want to remind everyone that you are not obligated to say anything. I know that speaking in front of a group is not everyone's cup of tea, so please do not feel like you're being pressured to do so. It's whatever your level of comfort is. Our next scholarship is going to go to Haley Tobin. Haley is a student who navigates both physical and cognitive disabilities daily. She is deeply passionate about advocating for and supporting people with disabilities and is going to Nova Scotia Community College to become a disability support professional. Outside of education, Haley enjoys music and plays the clarinet in the Halifax Regional Arts Band. Haley will quickly bounce back from life's challenges with ease, knowing that it's okay to make mistakes and life moves forward. She gets along with people of all ages and will be friendly to all. She's very creative when it comes to navigating her own life, pardon me, with the understanding that she may need extra time and assistance due to her disabilities. She tries not to see her disability as a barrier, but more as a different perspective to bring to the table in school, in the workplace, or just in her daily interactions. Haley?
I just want to say thank you so much for everyone for the time today to come and support all of us getting our scholarships. Thank you very much to the donors. And although growing up with disabilities is definitely more challenging than what would typically meets the eye, we're all very resilient and we should all be very proud of ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Haley. It seems that I have neglected something, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention that Ian has provided us with some incredible acknowledgements that I should have been handing out to each of you as you were getting your scholarships. So I'm going to correct that when we bring up the next guest to accept their scholarship. And I'm going to make sure that each of you get this gorgeous acknowledgement in the bright red folder as a recognition for all that you have achieved in moving into your next stage of life in post-secondary. So we will correct that. And our next scholarship recipient, again, Scotiabank, Jacqueline Steele was raised in Enfield, Nova Scotia, and was diagnosed with rheumatoid polyarticular arthritis and uveitis as a baby. Jacqueline has spent much of her life learning to navigate chronic pain, fatigue, and ongoing medical treatment while remaining deeply engaged in her community and education. Jacqueline is now entering into her fourth year in a Bachelor of Arts and Science in Climate and Environment program at St. Francis University. Alongside her studies, she has worked as a swim instructor and lifeguard, supported children with disabilities through Challenger Baseball, Nova Scotia, and Special Olympics. Passionate about environmental sustainability and community engagement, Jacqueline hopes to pursue a career focused on climate resilience, restoration, and inclusive environmental leadership. Jacqueline, would you like to come up and accept your...
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank everyone here today for the support. It really means a lot to me. Something I've learned with having a disability is the importance of community and strength, and this is something I've seen here today overwhelmingly. So keep it up, and thank you for the support again.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Our next sponsorship recipient is Cameron Little. Cameron has played competitive hockey for 11 years. Outside of school, he does independent research projects that are based on his interests and love of math and science. Some of his accomplishments include taking care of 9 puppies for 3 months, teaching himself guitar, in addition to winning first place in the community track and field in 2020. He has volunteered to coach little kids hockey, taught himself golf and tennis, and has undergone a dramatic physical transformation from working out and dieting and losing 80 pounds of fat while gaining 30 pounds of muscle in the process. Yay, Cameron. One of the hardest things that Cameron has had to deal with is overcoming an invisible disability. But Cameron found the courage to face it and to beat it. He understands how math and physics can help us visualize and conceptualize the nature of things that allows us to exist and to define our world. His dream is to be an engineer, either mechanical, electrical, robotical, chemical, or nuclear, but he's not going to decide until he's in his 3rd year of his degree. Cameron, would you like to come up and accept your scholarship? So I've made an executive decision, and I'm going to continue with giving the scholarships, and then I'm going to follow up with each one as we're getting our pictures taken at the end, so I can ensure everybody has their acknowledgements, their scholarship, and their picture. Our next scholarship recipient comes from the Gulf Nova Scotia and Lung Nova Scotia PEI. And I would like to invite Sarah Wilson and Frank Dunn to help present those. Would you guys like to say a few words?
Frank can.
I always invite the sponsors in advance if they would like to say a few words, but again, there's no pressure.
Never one for turning away from a mic. Thank you. This is my first time at this event, and it's rejuvenating. It's all the award winners are very impressive, and I wish you all the best. And thank you very much.
Again, a bit of a difference in height here. Carice Nurse is 20 years old and is living with cystic fibrosis, a genetic lung disease that impacts the liver, the pancreas, and digestive system. Carice has been lucky enough to benefit from a life-saving drug called Trikafta. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but she is now living and looking towards the future. Carice will be entering school for a business degree at St. Mary's University.
just wanted to thank everyone so much for attending and your support. I want to thank Golf Nova Scotia and Lung PEI. Thank you guys so much. I'm just incredibly grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So our next recipient is Casino Nova Scotia Halifax, and this is going to be presented by Melanie Wells. Our next recipient is Eden Simpson. She's a graduating student from Horton High School who will be attending Dalhousie University this fall in the medical sciences program with the goal of becoming a family physician. Throughout high school, Eden has been deeply involved in leadership, volunteering, athletics, and the arts, and she focuses on fostering belonging and meaningful connection for students with disabilities. Beyond school, Eden is passionate about community connection and supporting vulnerable populations. She has learned the importance of empathy, dignity, and human connection through her volunteer work. Eden hopes to combine these values with medicine by advocating for accessible and compassionate healthcare, particularly for neurodivergent individuals and rural communities within Nova Scotia.
Hi, I just wanted to thank everyone for this opportunity and for all of you who came out to support us. And I also wanted to congratulate everyone else here. Anyway, thank you.
I don't know. Our next scholarship is the Alex Peeler Scholarship. And I'd like to share just a little bit about why we have the Alex Peeler Scholarship. Alex was a graduate of Parkview Education Center in Bridgewater. He went on to further his education at the Nova Scotia Community College, and after receiving diplomas in both screen arts and business administration and marketing, he founded a company called Squeaky Wheel Productions, a multimedia company with a focus on advocacy, where he made many videos about the challenges of living with a disability, including a short documentary that was screened at the Atlantic Film Festival. As the recipient of numerous awards and honors over the years, his work and advocacy allowed him to travel and to meet dignitaries and advocates, including realizing his dream to meet Rick Hansen. He was also a member of the Holy Trinity Anglican Church, Bridgewater, where he served as the secretary and was also the events planning coordinator employed for the town of Bridgewater. He was passionate and an advocate and a mentor for the disability community, facing his own disabilities with determination and a zest and a pursuit to make the world a better place for everyone. He was also the chair of the Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunities. He was a member of the Council for Disabilities and the Muscular Dystrophy Halifax chapter, and had been recently appointed to the Nova Scotia Accessibility Advisory Council. Sadly, Alex passed away at the age of 27 because of complications due to muscular dystrophy. So this award is to recognize Alex and his legacy. This year's award goes to Naftali Tucker. And I first met Naftali 2 years ago for a Melheb event. So it was a nice opportunity to come full circle. She is a disability and neurodiversity advocate from Fall River and will be graduating from West Bedford High School in June. She has found she was autistic when she was 12 and realized very quickly that there was a lack of education surrounding autism and neurodiversity, especially when it came to women and girls with lower support needs in academic or physical areas. Since then, Naftali has gone into several schools to do presentations for both teachers and students about inclusion, neurodiversity, and how to best support and help kids like her. Naftali's goal is to make sure kids like her feel accepted and supported by classmates, teachers, and their community. In September, she will be starting at St. Mary's University to get a BA in anthropology and hopes one day to be a university professor and to do research on autism, neurodiversity, and disability through an anthropological and cultural lens. Naftali, could you please come up?
I want to thank everyone who's here today. Thank you so much for all being here, and congratulations to everyone else who got a scholarship today. Thank you to NS Leo and the Alex Peeler Fund. I don't know what you'd call it, but thank you very much for this opportunity, for this scholarship. I'm very happy to be able to accept this. This is really important to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Naftali. And I do have it on good authority that Naftali is looking for some part-time work over this summer. She's also interested maybe if she can't find the part-time work, maybe doing some volunteering. So if there's anybody in the room who might be able to, has some ideas, she's over here at table 3. Okay. Congratulations to all of our scholarship recipients, including those who received scholarships in Cape Breton. I believe it was Trina Procure, Merrick McCarthy, and earlier this week during the Mel Heb Awards, it was Peyton Gibbon. So there have been other scholarships that we're not able to attend for today. And we will also be looking at the call out for scholarships for next year as well. So we presented a number of scholarships. We presented a number of awards during this week, during the Mel Heb Awards. We know that there's still events that are happening this weekend, what's coming up. Very, very happy to see the growth that has occurred in the province around accessibility awareness and inclusion. We all know that there's greater awareness. We now have to move to action. There are so many around the province who are doing just that. And it's so happy and I'm going to say heartfelt to see that we have champions in this room, that we've had champions in past rooms, and we will continue to find partners to help us to be able to move the needle so that eventually we will be looking at a fully inclusive province in 2030. And no one person, no one community, no one sector can do it on their own. This is a collective community effort across sectors and across the community. Thanks to sponsors such as the Smith family, Scotiabank, Casino Nova Scotia in both Halifax and Sydney, to Golf Nova Scotia, the Lung Association of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island, and my own board for supporting the Alex Media Fund Award. We would also like to show appreciation for our partners around the table, the Accessibility Directorate, the Association of Municipal Administrators of Nova Scotia, the Village of Bible Hill, CNIB, Halifax Regional Municipality, their Office of Diversity, Inclusion, African Nova Scotian Affairs Integration, the March of Dimes. There are so many. There's the Office of Equity and Anti-Racism, Nova Scotia Health, Nova Scotia Human Rights, Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. I will say that last year, when the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission raised the Access Awareness flag at their main corporate office, I made a point to drive to their office and take a picture. That is progress. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it's progress. This is a corporation, a government corporation that is recognizing the importance. And it may seem like a small thing, but it's a huge thing. We have Teamwork Cooperative represented here, the town of Truro, who are participating with other communities around the province, other municipalities, and also the municipality and the hospitality of the Atlantica Hotel and our servers. And I'm going to end on this note because this is last but far from least. I would like to ask for a huge round of applause for Amanda, our volunteers Christina, and their stellar job in pulling this week together. Some of our partners do have materials and information to share, so if you're interested, you can check them out. They are on the back right wall to my right, to most of your left. And I would also like to invite the sponsors and the recipients to please come up for a group shot and individual photos. I so often miss this opportunity. I don't want to do it today. And open the floor for photos, but first, please, all recipients, if you could come to the front with your sponsors. Ian, I think that would include you as well? Yes, please.
Great job, everyone. Good job speaking too.